Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Matthew Peterson, and I guarantee you this. There is no other Browns YouTube channel that does what we do here at the channel. Guarantee it or your free money back. But on today's show, we're going to talk about some cut candidates for the Browns in 2023. It's a combination of saving money and players that just need to get cut because they are not producing, right? And I think when you combine those two things, you end here. John Johnson. Not that he's been a total train wreck. He hasn't been an absolute failure, a bust, or a liability. But he has not been worth the 3-year, $33.7 million contract that the Browns gave him. Now, looking at some of his notes now, the Browns can save just under $10 million if they were to release him after June 1st. Now, if you release him before June 1st, the savings are not quite as big, but you don't get that money then after June 1st during free agency in March. Grant Delpit and DeAnthony Bell. Those are going to be your two starting safeties next year. I really do believe so. DeAnthony Bell is already safety number 3, and I think John Johnson is kind of in that same water that Austin Hooper was in last year of, listen, we need the money. It hasn't worked out like we would have hoped it had. Not a complete failure. Hooper was worse. But for Johnson, looking at his stats this year, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles. He's made good plays. He has, don't get me wrong. But he's also had some really big bonehead moments. And he's a leader on this team. And I'm not trying to question his leadership because I'm not in the Browns locker room. But for a leader, there's one too many examples of him letting a running back run by him into the end zone. At times I question his effort in some of these games here. Let's look at his Pro Football Focus grades, though, from 2022. He ranked 59th out of 89. That's not good. His overall grade was 62.8. So when you take a below-average season, and you pair that with a nice fine wine to the tune of $9.7 million, Andrew Berry might think long and hard about moving on from his starting strong safety. Moving on here, Jedrick Wills is our next cut candidate. I don't think Jed Wills should get cut. I do not think he should get cut, but I know that a lot of you would like to see him get cut. So we'll talk about him on the show here. Personally, I think the opposite's going to happen. I think his 5th-year option will get picked up this offseason. The Browns can save a meager $3.2 million against the cap. So that's an okay amount of savings. Like $3.2 million is not going to green light the signing of Daron Payne. So don't think move on from Jed Wills, free agent signing right after that. No, not the case here. His 5th-year option decision is this offseason. Now, I think the Browns are going to pick it up, but he's been a hot topic, right? He's been a controversial starter on this team. And here's my take on Jedrick Wills. He's got some issues. Don't get me wrong. His run blocking sucks. For me, the biggest issue I have actually isn't about what happens before the whistle, It's when he watches Deshaun Watson or Jacoby Brissett get sacked, his body language sucks. You know what I'm talking about? When he gives up a sack, the pass rusher gets by him, and then he just kind of stands and watches. And he's like, oh, there it goes. It's just like the effort level, it feels like it drops off a cliff. Whenever he gets beat, he doesn't bother to run in and push the guy off his quarterback. I want to see some of that. I want to see some junkyard dog of like, you don't touch my quarterback on the offensive line, right? I want that type of tenacity. With Jed Wills, I feel like we get a lot of, shoot, you beat me. Sorry. Like that just drives me up the wall here. Also, wasn't that good this year. He wasn't bad. I don't think he's as bad as some people make him out to be, but he wasn't that good. He ranked 60th out of 81 across all tackles. So he was bottom half in the league. We can all agree, go back in time, you pick Tristan Wirfs. Like, that is a better selection. But is Jed Wills this train wreck some people describe? No, I don't think he's that bad. I think for the value of a rookie contract, Andrew Berry will likely pick up his 5th-year option, have 5 years of a cheapish left tackle, and try again in the draft after that. But let me ask you, should the Cleveland Browns pick up Jed Wills' 5th-year option? The decision will be this offseason, It'll cost about 12 or 13 million-ish dollars for year number 5. I think that's worth it compared to going to free agency, signing a big expensive left tackle, maybe James Hudson, but I don't think James Hudson's any better than Jed Wills, and he's cheaper, but I think you roll with Jed Wills, who, by the way, finally put together a healthy season, and hope he can build off of this year, look good next year, and you go, oh, thank goodness we picked up that 5th-year option. We're not like the Raiders, where Josh Jacobs goes off in year 4, and now we got to let him walk. If you are looking for a Browns offseason channel, by the way, and this is your first time coming across us here, well, subscribe today and join nearly 17,000 strong. We have been growing like crazy since the season started. We were under 10,000 before week 1, and where are we now? Just nearly at 17 strong. So hit that big red button and subscribe. Third cut candidate here is Jordan Elliott. So let's talk about some defensive tackles. In fact, we can just parlay Jordan Elliott with Tommy Togiai. Let's just lump our 2 DTs together here because one of these 2 guys is probably getting cut, in my opinion. Looking at the Browns' 2023 defensive line, this is just the front 5. Togiai is not a real nose tackle. But the point being here is there needs to be improvements, right? Taven Bryan probably not coming back. Perrion Winfrey, I think, is probably the only guy you can confidently say of that defensive tackle room is coming back. But Elliott and Togiai, I'm guessing they're going to be battling it out this training camp for the 4th and final roster spot in that defensive tackle room. Who's it going to go to? Elliott's a year older. He started over Togiai. Did he look like anyone that should start in the NFL this year? No. So you can maybe try Togiai, but when Togiai played, kind of sucked too. They're both just not very good. Let's just call it what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. Elliott and Togiai are not starting defensive tackle material in the NFL. If I had to guess, the defensive tackle room in 2023 looks like this. Perrion Winfrey, a draft pick, hopefully one of their first 2 draft selections. Some sort of Taven Bryan-esque free agent, 1 year cheap, no one Andrew Berry, and then Jordan Elliott or Tommy Togiai. I would love to be proven wrong and see Daron Payne. I want Daron Payne. I don't think Andrew Berry is going to do it. If I was Andrew Berry, I would do it. But no one AB just undervalues that position, and I think he'll learn from his mistake from last year, but he won't, overcompensate and go all the way from let's get the cheapest and the skimmiest defensive tackles to the most expensive one this free agency. He's going to have to make his way there. You know what I mean? Now, we got more cut candidates to get to in just a second, but there's an awesome deal right now at Fanatics. This Browns hoodie I found on sale, 25% off when you go to chatsports.com/BrownsHood. Now, I've got that link for you guys in the comments and the description of today's show. Get 25% off this awesome, dope hoodie when you use this link. Let's kind of lump these last 2 together. Jakeem Grant and our guy, number 10, Anthony Schwartz. He was put on IR for the last 3-4 weeks, whatever, of the season, and it seems doomed. But for Jakeem Grant, here's what I'll say. He was signed to be a special teamer. Unfortunately, older guy, ruptured his Achilles. That's tough to come back from. Later in your career, especially when the whole reason you were signed was for your speed, right? That's why they brought him along. Not for his receiving abilities, for his special teams impact. Special teamer coming off a ruptured Achilles. $3.2 million of 2023 cap savings out there if they cut him. I could see that happening. Now, Anthony Schwartz, he's not going to cost you much, so he's not going to save you much. Just $1.1 million. But honestly, I think Anthony Schwartz probably is done in Cleveland. I can kind of picture it now. The Cleveland Browns released 2020 third-round pick or 2021 third-round pick Anthony Schwartz. This year, he just played in 11 games, 4 grabs, 51 yards. We'll always have that touchdown run. We'll always have that touchdown grab in the Packers game on Christmas Day last year. But Anthony Schwartz probably going into camp next year. 5 receivers. You ready? Donovan Peoples-Jones, Amari Cooper, David Bell, Michael Woods, and a rookie or free agent. You're out of spots. So for that reason, Anthony Schwartz, probably hasta la vista. I don't see him coming back. Jakeem Grant, it's not anything to do with his skill level. It's just they signed him to be the special teams returner. And unfortunately, he tore his Achilles in training camp. And an older guy, when your best value, your best asset is speed, that's going to take some mileage off you, and that's going to hurt. So we ran through 6 names. I'm curious, who do you want to cut? Was it one of those 6 guys we talked about, or is it someone that I didn't mention at all? Let me know in the comment section below.